We are back for year 3 of the St. Thomas Men's Basketball Award Show. I'm your host, Sam Goley. I'm hosting from Madison, Wisconsin. Joining me, as always, the man, the Minnesota Myth, the legend. You can catch him on the NFL Network, Matt Wyman. Matt, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me again, Sam. Just really excited to chop it up and talk some Tommy MBB with you.
For sure. And Matt, we got plenty of awards tonight. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think we start with the most electrifying play in all of basketball.
The slam dunk?
The dunk!
Perfect. The nominees for best dunk are...
Tommy's have a chance to grow a 17-point lead. Blue, Rob for Anthony. He attacks right. Gets it to Lee underneath. Thunderous dunk. And second half, under 3 minutes to play. Lob it for Bjorklund with the exclamation point. Missed it wide right. Rebound pulled down by Bryant. His pass stolen by Anthony. Anthony goes it down with malice in his heart.
Wow. Those are some incredible dunks from this season. We've really come a long way in 3 short years, Sam.
You're totally right there, Matt, too. Again, a lot of good dunks this year, and we're lucky to have them presented once again by NBA Slam Dunk champion Glenn Robinson III. Glenn, take it away.
Hey, what's up, everybody from St. Thomas Basketball? It's Glenn Robinson III here to announce you guys' Dunk of the Year. I want to give this award to Raheem Anthony, number 24. I see you rocking Kobe. You didn't have to make dude fall, man. I've seen that replay a bunch of times. Congrats to you, Raheem. You got Dunk of the Year this year, 2024. Keep doing what y'all doing. Raheem, keep going. Much love and proud of you all. 2017 Dunk Champ signing out. And keep it going, St. Thomas. Keep it going.
Thanks, Glenn. Really appreciate that.
We were able to talk with Raheem Anthony earlier this week about that incredible dunk and his incredible season.
We are now very pleased to be joined by the winner of the Dunk of the Year and also our newcomer of the year, Raheem Anthony. Raheem, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First, just on that dunk, do you think the committee got it right? Was it the best dunk? And Corbu said on the radio you had malice in your heart during that dunk. So if you could just talk us through what's going through your head as you're throwing one down, that would be much appreciated.
I'd say this year was the best dunk. Parker had a few dunks that could have probably got it, but not too much of a with malice in his heart. But yeah, the kid got the rebound, and I knew he was looking for the point guard, and I just happened to be right there, and it was just such a telegraphed pass that I took it. And earlier in that game, in the first half, I tried to dunk on 2 people. But then I think I got fouled. I was just trying to see if anybody would jump, but then they fouled me. So then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just try and go up and see if I can dunk it. It's either he's gonna foul me because he's jumping late, or I'm gonna make this dunk, and that's just what happened.
It was definitely an electrifying dunk, and as well, we also mentioned you're the newcomer of the year, but you were not the only member of your family to jump up a division and play Division I basketball. Kind of talk us, how cool was that for your family to have, 2 players make the jump to Division I, that were able to sort of help each other out at all?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty hectic a year ago today. Both of us entered the portal around the same time. A lot of us were getting hit by the same schools. They were talking about package deals to coming there. Probably 10, 15 schools that wanted both of us, and there's 10 or 15 schools that didn't know we were brothers up until after he committed, and I shared his posts about congratulating him. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and I know my parents are pretty proud of us for both doing what we love still. And unfortunately, this is my last year, but Rasheed still has another year to go.
Absolutely. And Coach mentioned at a press conference that you were not done playing basketball. Where are you looking at playing, and just what's next for you?
I'm looking to go overseas right now. The biggest part is finding an agent right now. I don't really know where I'm going to end up, but it'd be pretty cool to play overseas while I still have the chance. So then after overseas, I'll figure out my life after that.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a plan. Again, Coach Tower says he wishes he had you for a couple more years. We really appreciate watching against St. Mary's, so it's kind of good to see you join the good guys on the purple team. And once again, we really appreciate you coming on the broadcast. Thank you very much, Raheem.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Now, for the moment that everyone has been waiting for, our most prestigious award, the tallest player award?
Tall can mean a lot of things we found out over the 3 years of this award show, and this year is no different. The nominees for tallest player are this is always a tough category to win, and especially so this year where we had two past winners. The winner of tallest player for 2023-24 and also the defensive player of the year is Drake Dobbs.
Well, you know what, Sam? I really think the committee got this one right. They got both of those awards right. And thankfully, we got to speak with Drake earlier this week.
We are pleased to be joined now by the winner of our most prestigious award, the Tallest Player Award, as well as our Defensive Player of the Year, Drake Dobbs. Drake, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Drake, you had a lot of matchups this year with the best opposing scorer. Do you have a game that sticks out to you that you're most proud of, or a matchup you enjoyed the most?
The game that stood out to me the most was probably when we played Denver. Tommy Bruner scored 0, just because, he was leading the nation in scoring this whole year. So I thought that was, pretty cool to hold, a guy who scores 25 a game, to 0 that night. So that was pretty awesome. But, just the league was pretty deep this year with guards, and, I had my hands full every single night. But I think my favorite matchup was guarding Zeke Mayo, just because of, his versatility, on the court, off the ball too as well. You can really shoot. He's really fast, get to the basket. So he was probably my favorite matchup overall. But definitely holding Tommy to 0 this year was fun as well.
That was a fantastic game, great performance. And then, Matt talked about defense. I get asked about being the tallest player. So, this year you took out two of our past award winners in order to get the award, Brooks Allen and Ryan Dufault. Ryan, he may have helped your case. In the press conference, he specifically called you out as a very good defender. That's typically what the committee looks for in terms of a tallest player. And then Brooks Allen, he was a huge leader on the defensive end. Was there anything in particular you took from either of those two guys?
Yeah, for sure. Brooks is a huge voice on defense for us. He's always in the right spot. He's always talking early. So, you definitely need guys like that on defense who communicate at a high level. And then, with Doof, he's all up in your face. He's a bulldog on defense. Like you don't want that guy guarding you. He's almost like Pat Bev. Like you're like, man, this guy, like, how is he always in front of me? Like he keeps chesting me. So, I pick up little, bits and pieces from those dudes and learning from them. And then, I incorporate that into, my defense as well.
I'd never looked at Ryan Dufault as Pat Bev before, so I'm going to start looking for that now.
No, that makes complete sense. You talk about Brooks, and obviously it's not easy losing a guy like Brooks, Parker, Raheem moving into next year. What are your plans as far as it comes to next year and playing basketball?
Yeah, right now it looks like for sure I'm coming back 100%. There's nowhere else I want to be. JT has given me an incredible opportunity here, and the coaching staff has really had my back. So I'd love to give them another year, playing and giving my all. But we lose a couple guys, but I still think we can be really good next year. We got a couple of freshmen coming in that are really good, and then Carter and Ryan and Ben now, like they got to take some big jumps this year, but they already did last year. So I think we're going to be really good and prepared going into the season next year.
Well, Drake, I'd also include you as a guy that took a huge jump this year. You're a huge part of defense, and it's great to hear you're coming back. I appreciate your time coming on the show today, and again, we look forward to watching you on the Purple coming up next season.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Matt, there's no other way to say it, but this next award is very important.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, Sam. We both know basketball is a team-oriented sport, but the committee had to choose someone for the MVP award.
This is the award for MVP, and the nominees are
Wow, Sam, those are some great nominees. I know it would be a really tough choice for myself to choose from those players.
Yes, it was also our tightest category, separated by only 2 votes. But without further ado, the team MVP of the 2023-2024 St. Thomas men's basketball season is Parker Bjorklund.
Congratulations to Parker, and we actually got to catch up with Parker earlier this week.
We are now pleased to be joined by the committee's voted team MVP and the winner of the best single game performance in making his 3rd appearance on the award show, Parker Bjorklund. Parker, thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
So Parker, first, great season. You're the first 1,000 Division I point scorer in St. Thomas history. You rank just behind Coach Tower in terms of all-time points. How do you sort of assess the last 3 years in the Summit League? I guess, what are you the most proud of?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I'm definitely most proud of just our team's growth through the last 3 years, coaching staff and just teammates involved. If you look at where we were right when we came Division I, we've made a ton of strides, and we've built a culture that's been developing and growing ever since St. Thomas was built. So no, it's been a crazy journey. It's been a ton of fun.
Absolutely. And your last career win against NDSU, you played them 7 times, and in 5 of those games, you were the leading scorer, including your 32-point game, which won the best single game performance this year. What is it about this matchup that gets you going, and do you think there's a rivalry there?
I do think there's a rivalry there. Over these past 3 years, I think it's built and grown to be a bigger rivalry. And I don't know. I wouldn't say it's something about NDSU that gets me fired up. Just go into the game and just take whatever they give us. They got some really skilled big men. But on the other end, they can be a liability at times. But I don't know. I would say they're a top rivalry. SDSU's up there too, just because we fight so hard with them, and they're a great team. But there's a few teams in the Summit that mix up to be a good rivalry for sure.
Awesome. And then finally, Parker, you're the most decorated athlete in terms of this specific award show. It was 2 years ago where you explained who you were banned from Twitter. You've certainly got a lot of mileage out of talking about your social media company. Next year, are you going to be upset when you can't retell that story to basketball writers? And then I guess, what's next for you professionally? Are you going to run a popcorn company? I guess, what do you got in the hopper?
I don't know yet. I'm not sure yet. Hopefully we'll cook up in the future, but I do want to play overseas next year. So that's something I'll be looking into, these next coming months to see if there's an opportunity that presents itself. But that's definitely what I'm looking forward to most.
Awesome. Well, wherever you end up overseas, I'm sure that me and Matt and the rest of the St. Thomas fans and the committee will be following you. And once again, thank you very much for joining the program.
Thank you.
Matt, that was surely a very impressive list of award winners we had this season.
Yeah, it was, and grateful to end the show speaking once again with Coach Dr. John Tower.
We had a great conversation with Coach where he talks about his graduating seniors, the challenges of this season, and what his plans are moving ahead.
We're now joined by the head men's basketball coach for the University of St. Thomas, Coach Johnny Tower. Coach, thank you very much for joining us again to end our award show this year.
Hey, thanks, fellas. Great to be back here. Appreciate all you guys do to help promote St. Thomas basketball and also our entire athletic department. So very grateful. Passionate guys like you is part of what helps get the word out about all the special things that are going on and the special stories.
Of course. Coach, first off, congrats on a great season. 20 wins, a higher conference winning percentage, and making it to the Summit League semis. To start, how would you assess the success of the season? Maybe give a short overview of how the season went from your point of view.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. It was an incredible season. And I think there's certain quantitative markers of that. There's also a lot of qualitative stuff that as a coach, it's easy to get mired in the data. And, as you said, if you look at 20 wins in year 3 to go from 10 to 19 to 20, and as much as I'd love to say we're going to do that every single year, at some point, you may have a year where you don't continue to increase your wins or your place in the conference. Our net ranking and our KenPom, 2 metrics that are pretty widely used by basketball people, we were probably at 350 or 355 a couple of years ago at the start of the year. We finished at 305 year one. Last year we started in the 280s. We finished at about 202. And I think this year we went up from 275 to 140 or so, 145. And so that's another mark when you look at 362 teams in the country and probably 70 of them playing in the Power Six conferences. Those are all quantitative measures that good things are going on. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk more qualitatively. If you look at our schedule, we started the year 3-4, and frankly, losing Riley Miller and Andrew Rohde and Will Ingles, there were a lot of question marks, particularly in the backcourt. And I thought the Western Michigan game was a real catalyst, tough road game. We were up 41-14 at halftime. And it was just one of those games where I thought our defense, some of the things we had been talking a lot about, started to really come to fruition. The Marquette game on the road, 1-point game with 2 minutes left. And they hit a big three, but it was one of those, I think, memories that our fans, our players will always remember, being in a game against a top 10 team, much like last year against Creighton on the road. The way our guys compete, I use the word fearless a lot. And, part of it is really hard to win on the road. You look around major college basketball, just the number of teams that have fewer than 5 road wins all year long. And I just love the way our guys go compete. And then the last thing I'd say, and then, I'm happy for any follow-up, but our program, I think, is really predicated on taking good care of the ball, being unselfish, and playing hard-nosed defense. And if you look at those numbers this year, our turnovers, I think, were again right near the top 10 in the country. Assist-to-turnover ratio was outstanding. And our defense was probably as good as it's ever been. We've really, if you look at the 3 years in Division I, I think that's where we've made a huge jump in how we're able to play people on both ends of the floor. We've always been pretty good on offense at this level. And so just really proud of our guys. I mean, you guys know there's a number of stories on this team that I'm sure we'll get into that are really, really unique. And I don't say that word lightly. But just the way they competed all year long, it makes me proud to be their coach. When I rewatch the games, I don't necessarily get an appreciation when we're in the middle of it. But when I rewatch the games and our home atmosphere, our crowds were the best they've ever been. We went 12-2 at home. And just to me, our guys play an inspiring brand of basketball, and it's an honor to coach them.
For sure. And then, Coach, you talked about a great story on this team. This year you sort of doubled down on the D3 to D1 player idea by adding Raheem Anthony out of St. Mary's. At this point, your staff, and I'll include, Coach Maker with Duncan Robinson, you've coached a lot of D3 to D1 basketball players. Why do you think he had such a smooth transition to Division I basketball and was able to make such a big impact on your team?
Well, the number one reason I think is Raheem's really talented. I can say this objectively as an opposing coach back in 2020. I was like, why in the world is this kid playing Division III basketball when he was a freshman at St. Mary's and he scored 20 points a game across 3 games against us that year, and we were really good. When I look at whether it's Duncan Robinson, Parker Bjorklund, Brooks Allen, Raheem Anthony, or any of the other 7 guys that made the jump with us, I do think it's been a pretty inspiring story when you look at what these guys have represented, right? Because there have been thousands and thousands of Division III players who have left their heart and souls on the court for so long, and people never really knew, like, well, how good are these guys? And to me, when we were in Division III, I would say this all the time. We say don't dichotomize the world a lot. Well, don't trichotomize the world into Division I, II, and III. Those are not separate universes. They're overlapping distributions, right? So if you guys took stats at St. Thomas,
yes,
these are populations that are overlapping, and the best Division III teams, and we had evidence of this, could play with most of the Division II teams in the country. The best Division II teams can play with the majority of the Division I teams. And so on an individual level, that's, I think, also true. Certainly Raheem, some of it was fit. I think he had a real trust that, and I can tell a guy like Raheem, like, hey, we played 9 former Division III players over the last 2 years. If you're good enough to play for us, you're going to play a lot. And he was certainly good enough. I think he led us or was second in just about every major statistical category, gets named all conference. But above that, the thing that I appreciated most about Raheem, he brought a fresh perspective, right? So our other guys had been in our culture at St. Thomas. he brought a fresh Division III perspective, and his I think his joy, his gratitude. He would just say things that only a veteran would say. One day he stopped the team and he raised his hand, and Brooks Allen was sort of our unquestioned on-court leader this year, which is a separate story, but it's really fun to watch because that was not who Brooks was his first 4 years for us. He was a steady contributor, but he played behind or with guys like Riley Miller and Anders Nelson, Ryan Lindbergh, Bert Hedstrom, that those guys were our leaders. And Raheem raised his hand in a meeting midway through the year, and he's like, I don't know if all you guys understand how lucky we are to have Brooks. And it's one thing when coaches say that, but when a player, he said, I've never played with a guy like this in high school or college who literally is directing traffic and helping all of us all the time on the court while he's still out there playing, right? It's one thing to do that as a coach. It's another thing to do that as a player. And so all that is to say Raheem is, my daughter, I probably shouldn't say this on air because she loves all our players, but if you ask her who her favorite players, she's like Raheem. And when we went to Italy over the summer, our players are so great with Issa, but Raheem is just, he truly was a delight to coach. But he was also a phenomenal player. I don't know if I've seen a guy more powerful and explosive just going 94 feet. Like he'd get a defensive rebound, and it was like when you're playing a video game and there's a turbo button and you're like, hold on a second, I haven't seen that before. And so I could go on and on about him, but to join our program and have averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists at St. Mary's, and know that he's not going to have that same role. He's not going to have the same usage with the ball. And I think he got a lot better off the ball. He learned our system quickly. But our team very quickly also figured out how talented he was. And so it was just a beautiful blend. And I wish I could coach him longer than I did, because he's just been a blessing to our program.
Right on.
Yeah, it was tough to not tough to watch, but surprising that he played in Division III basketball for 3 years, to watch what he did for 1 year in Division I basketball. And thirdly, your team over the last 3 seasons, as you mentioned earlier, one of the most improved defenses in all of college basketball. Where do you give the credit for this defensive improvement? And feel free to take as much credit for yourself as you would like.
Well, I think it's interesting because in Division III, we were typically a really good defensive team. Our first year here, we were, I think, number 362 out of 363 defensively. And that was true on blocked shots. It was true on rebounding. It was true on field goal percentage. But that was not for a lack of effort. You guys saw us play that year. And right. So I think sometimes it's a misconception that St. Thomas didn't play a tough defense that year. Our guys busted their butt. It was literally, we had, guards that were giving up a lot of size and quickness, and wings who were giving up a lot. So I think, there's probably 3 things. One, we have an unbelievable coaching staff. Coach Maker does our offense and does an unbelievable job with that. Coach Lowe does our defense. Coach Rundles helps him with that and also does our personnel. And so Kenny Lowe and Cameron Rundles are tireless in terms of their preparation of our guys, both at the individual level. Hey, Matt, you're guarding Sam. Here's his tendencies. Let's look at the film. And then, hey, Matt, here's what they're trying to do schematically. How do we shut down their whole team? So Kenny and Cam do an unbelievable job. But I also think our players, if you look at how they buy into that, defense is a selfless, you guys know playing football, there's certain selfless tasks where it's not going to show up in the statistics, right? The guys who make all defensive team, they may have a lot of blocks. They may have a lot of steals. We didn't have anybody on all defensive team. Yet I think we led the conference in fewest points allowed. I thought Drake Dobbs this year for us was, I don't know if there was a more impactful defender that I saw this year in any team that we play. And that's not taking anything away from anybody, just Drake at the point of attack, game after game after game, he doesn't get tired. He pressures the ball. He jumps to the ball. He's in gaps. He's talking. Like, he just does all those things that, unless you're a basketball person, you're kind of like, yeah, what did Drake Dobbs do tonight? Oh, he had 10 points, 3 assists, and you rewatch the tape. You're like, no, every single possession, he was fully engaged. Probably like an offensive lineman, right? Where you're just like, that guy, every single snap did his job. And in the box score, there's no reflection of that, yet the running back just had 187 yards, right? Something like that. And so Drake and then Ryan Dufault would come off the bench. The two of them, I thought, complemented each other so well. Brooks was like the captain of our defense in terms of being a vocal leader. But then a guy like Parker Bjorklund, who's been 2-time All-Conference now, I think Parker improved markedly on defense throughout the course of the year, where his scoring numbers aren't that much different the last 3 years. His basketball IQ, what he did intangibly, was entirely different. So I could go on, but I thought those three guys and their leadership, Kendall Blue improved a ton on defense throughout the course of the year. I'm really proud of him. He had an outstanding sophomore season. And then, the guys off the bench, I think that's one of the hallmarks of our program is bringing energy off the bench. And so I'm really excited about where our defense went this year. I think we took a huge jump, and that's certainly something we're looking to continue.
Well, I like that you compared Drake Dobbs to an offensive lineman. We'll see if he appreciates it as much as we did. But anyway, sort of to wrap it up, Coach, you had 5 guys walk on senior day that were a part of, so far all 3 years in the Summit League. What impact has that specific group of 5 guys had on the program? And then what traits, I guess, do you hope the younger guys take away from their, very successful and, developmental time in the program?
Yeah, it was, certainly senior night, we've been fortunate to have 3 really emotional and meaningful senior nights already in Division I. We've won all those games. I think those guys were honored in a way that they'll always remember. But when you look at the guys, Brooks and Parker's story has been told a lot. And so, we could be on here for hours about them. But Brooks, even, you look at any one game, and I said this after our last game, Brooks scored 9 points in 2 years of Division III. His last game, he had 11 points. And that happened a lot, right? Where literally he's scoring more points in a Division I game than he did in 2 years of Division III. Now, Brooks, being the smart aleck that he is, would probably say, well, if the coach would have played me more in Division III, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But Brooks and Parker's story really are like a Disney movie. Courtney Brown, Dom Martinelli, Bennett Kaczynski, when I look at those guys, they all transferred in from different places. Dom from Northwestern, Courtney from Milwaukee, and Bennett from Siena. And while their minutes on the court were not huge, after our last game, I said the contributions that they made throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of their last 3 years was really remarkable. That, they every single day in practice, they brought energy. Every single day, they were selfless and knowing sort of this is who we are and what we're trying to accomplish. And so I think those unsung heroes, every team has them, but guys that just bring it every day. And when you look at the 15 players on our roster, obviously I get to see them every day. So it's a little different to me, but those guys, if you don't have a great scout team, it's hard to simulate other teams. And what Bennett Kaczynski and Courtney Brown did every day, simulating other teams' post players, that was a real luxury for us. What Dom Martinelli did, simulating another team's leading scorer, that was another huge luxury. And so, those guys, Raheem Anthony was honored, Drake Dobbs, who we hope will be back next year. And then Josh Garcia would be the other one. Josh was with us as a student manager. And, you talk about unsung heroes, like every trip on the road, he's the one going to Target or Walgreens, and he's loading up on snacks for the guys, and he's doing the uniforms and the practice gear. And so it's one of the beautiful things about sports. You guys know this, that you get a group of people together and there's a common goal, and that common goal, it's like this bright light out there that you're shooting for. But every day there's tough stuff that every single person has to do, whether you're assistant coach breaking down hours and hours of film, whether you're on the scout team, whether you're getting extra treatment from our training staff who does an unbelievable job, you're in the weight room, or you're somebody like Josh Garcia. And so to me, that's what's so unique about our story, is not just D3 to D1, but I think we have a lot of people at every level in our organization, starting with our athletic director, Phil Eston, who work tirelessly to enhance our university and provide unbelievable experiences for our student athletes. And this group certainly in 23-24 made me proud to coach them.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I think you very well said. And once again, for Matt and I, we sincerely appreciate you hopping on the award show for the second year. And we look ahead to Division I year 4. So again, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys. Roll Toms.
Well, Sam, that's quite a show. 6 awards, 3 great players, 2 average hosts, and 1 phenomenal coach.
You're absolutely right, Matt. And that's pretty good math. We'd like to extend a couple thanks, calling the athletics office, all the players, the committee. We couldn't do it without you. And, especially to our sponsor, Uncle Charlie, always sticking with us, even with our low-tech downgrade. We didn't have as many visual props this year, Matt, but I still think we pulled off one heck of an award show.
Yeah, not being together in person is a real drag, but we found a way to get it done, which I'm very happy about.
And again, we could not be prouder to celebrate a great season, a great team, a great coach, all under a great school. Because at St. Thomas, what are we, Matt? We are all for the common good. If you made it this far, we really appreciate you watching.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.